Welcome, fans, to a special edition of the Great North Wrestling Podcast. My name is Jack Kilby, Executive Vice President of Great North Wrestling, and we are pleased to present today a special fan Q&A with the legendary Taskmaster, Kevin Sullivan. Kevin, thanks for coming on today.
It's great to be on. Thank you very much, Jack.
But before we get into some of the questions that have come in, I'd like to get your comments on managing the Blood Hunter on May the 6th. We're just days away. I know you're going to be traveling soon into Ontario, where you'll be making, your first appearance since WCW. A lot of the fans are talking about that, along with meeting you as part of the meet and greet that starts before the show on Saturday at 6 p.m. But any final thoughts on your involvement with the Blood Hunter in the main event against Cowboy James Storm, and specifically, how do you think that match is going to go?
That match would be a main event match in any major arena around the world. They both are seasoned veterans. They both are violent guys, both also technicians. But the thing that the Blood Hunter has, he's the most violent person I've ever met. He's borderline schizophrenic. He has no soul. He'll do anything to get a win. I'm not going to say it's going to be an easy win for the Blood Hunter, but the Cowboy better tighten up his boots as tight as he can, because he knows it's going to be a barn burner. And I'm not taking anything away from James. James is going to be battling back and forth, but I believe the people are going to see why the Blood Hunter can take pain and can dish it out.
Yeah, and that's something that some of the fans are commenting on. I mean, James Storm has got, and again, to take nothing away from Cowboy James Storm, he's a former TNA Impact World Heavyweight Champion, multi-time tag team champion, just about as wily a veteran as it gets. But in looking at his body of work, I can't see him having faced an opponent quite like the Blood Hunter. Would you concur with that?
Yes, I would concur with that. But it's anybody that faced the Blood Hunter has never faced anybody like the Blood Hunter. Don't you believe? I mean, he just keeps on going. And he makes these noises that come from within him that don't sound normal. I mean, it's almost scary to be at ringside and listen to what comes out of his body. It's very, very, it's almost unworldly. It's crazy.
So when you're ringside and you know that you've got this I want to compare him to an out of control character, a la the original Sheik. What is your role when you're out there? Do you really have to at some time step in and tell him enough's enough for fear of the opponent's physical safety?
I have, and I sometimes wonder if he even got it. Do you know what I'm saying? If maybe something clicked into his own head that he understood the next step was guy being physically hurt for a long time. That maybe if I didn't say it, he would have stopped anyway for fear of getting suspended. But there's something different with this guy, and he was reminiscent of the Sheik.
Yeah, I thought so. And a lot of the fans have commented that it's somewhat ironic to have an individual with your background and definitely a history of managing. Speaking of the Dungeon of Doom and some of the other characters that you've managed along your illustrious history, to be in control of the Blood Hunter per se. And there's not a lot of confidence out there, at least in some of the comments that I've read online, that you'll be able to step in when necessary, or you even will want to step in when necessary.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not sure if I want to step in, because when he gets in that zone, I'm not even sure he knows who's around him. He just wants to inflict punishment on people very, very badly. And I don't know if there's anything. That's why I think he's psychotic. I don't think he is. I don't think he sees. It's almost like the only thing he sees in front of him is red rats, that it's all fear and delusion, and he wants to destroy it. So I'm looking for, especially, he has been in the ring for a while. I'm looking at him that he may just crack down the middle and cause hate, just a wild time at the building, maybe complete havoc. We may see a guy injured badly, hopefully not. I mean, I want to see him whip a guy and whip him hard, but I don't want to see a guy go out on a stretcher missing a limb. So it's going to be exciting.
Well, fans, that is just one of the many major matches we're presenting this Saturday, May the 6th, at the Earl Armstrong Arena in Ottawa, Ontario. If you haven't already, get your tickets at ticketweb.ca. We will be having them at the door, but it's an event that will go down in history, and a quality card from top to bottom. And it remains to be seen the role Kevin Sullivan will play with the Blood Hunter. And as you said earlier, the Cowboy better be prepared to face what probably will be his most significant physical challenge in, if not ever, in quite a while.
Yeah, and I think it's forever, Jack. I think it's forever. And this should be one of those matches that, if you don't go, your friends are going to say, you should have been there. This is one of those you should have been there moments.
Absolutely. Kevin, before we get into a very long list of fan questions that we have here, my associate, Jake Walker, pointed out today that today marks the passing of Ray the Crippler Stevens, a legendary figure in the wrestling business, and just wanted to get your impressions on the man and any encounters that you would have had with him in the business.
The greatest performer of all times. I mean, or at least his generation. Bruno Sammartino, Ric Flair, the list, Mark Lewin, Buddy Rogers, the list goes on and on and on. That Ray was the Shawn Michaels of his day. I had the unenviable. I followed him after him and Pat Patterson left San Francisco. He came in to be my partner, and I asked him, what would you like? He said, "This is your town, kid. I'm going to make it for you." And he did, and he was wonderful. And I got to wrestle him in North Carolina and the Virginia. He was a wonderful guy, but his matches, the sad thing is there's not enough video on him.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Was there ever a greater trio than Stevens, Bockwinkel, and Heenan?
If there was, it's bypassed me now. I think that you hit it on the head. That was the best of all times, I think.
Definitely. Well, R.I.P. Crippler. We have a question, our first fan question, and it's a multifaceted one. I'll just start from Ronaldo Reyes. Did you get along with Jonathan Boyd Eric Embry, and any comments about Bob Sweetan, sorry, Scott Casey, Killer Tim Brooks?
I got along with every one of them but Bobby Sweetan. He went to prison as a pedophile, and it was his own kids he was doing it to. The other guys, I got along with. Tim Brooks was fun to be around. Jonathan Boyd was a great piece of talent. So I was only around those guys on a short period of time, but they were great. Except for Sweetan, I got along with them all.
And we have a non wrestling question also from a fan asking who your favorite Boston Red Sox player of all time is.
It has to be David Ortiz. He without him, we would probably not have won those championships. He came in 86 years, disappeared. They won 3 world championships in his reign. He's the greatest Red Sox of all times.
I would definitely concur with that. Mike D wants to know how you were notified about John Tenta Earthquake's death in 2006.
Tatanka called me because Tatanka and him were friends. John was a wonderful man, tough guy too, sumo. Very nice guy. Sorry to see that he passed too early.
Which kind of triggers something in my recollection. Why do you think his run in WCW was, after leaving, quite a hot run in WWF? Why do you think his WCW run was somewhat muted comparatively?
Well, I think Eric didn't see him like he saw the rest of the WWF guys. John had gotten a little bit older, a little bit slower. And at that time, that it was going to more cooler guys, like Nash and Hall and Sixpack. So even though maybe Eric didn't see it, I think Eric saw that he was an asset to the card, though.
Absolutely. Jake is asking if you have any memories of the Roy Shire territory.
Oh, yeah, it was great territory. A lot of people talk to me about where I've been. Not 1 in 1,000 will mention San Francisco, but I wrestled Bob Roop there 4 shows in a row, and the lowest attendance we did was 12,000, and highest attendance I think we did 16. So I really enjoyed San Francisco.
Do you have any thoughts on? Bob is asking here, what was it like to party with Andre the Giant?
That's an impossible task. Andre was a wonderful human being. He actually went to my nephew's school for show and tell. They brought in the Giant, and he was just a great, great human being. I saw him stretch. A lot of people thought they could drink with Andre, not just the wrestlers, including fans. No possible way.
So that wasn't over exaggerated or developing through time as a mythology, his capacity for alcohol consumption?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. I mean, I guess it gets a little bit more colorful, but there is a place in Rhode Island where he went in, and the placemats tell you that he drank 112 beers, 4 bottles of wine. I don't know how many cognacs, 6 steaks, 8 lobsters, and went on and on and on. And it's there to this day. The That's what they use for the placemats.
Hmm. Do you have any? One of the upcoming interviews that we have is a former ring announcer of Polynesian pro wrestling, and we'll be going into detail about some of the history of that territory. I know you were prevalent and out front on the Dark Side of the Ring, sorry, Tales from the Territories episode on Polynesian Pro. What do you think, from a historical perspective, is the greatest contribution that territory has made to the business, given the relatively short run under the Maivia family?
Well, I think it was almost like an open city. Uh, Me and Mark Loon were in the NWA, yet we could wrestle Fuji and Tanaka in Honolulu, who were WWF talent. Anoki would allow, and Baba would allow Japanese talent to crisscross in Honolulu. We'd have Baba, we'd get Anoki on the card. We had Brody, Hanson, the Sheik. I mean, we had everybody in the world on those cards. So it was like, hands off. Let's help Leah. Let's, see if we can keep it going. It was a wonderful place. Really enjoyed it.
And the one of the most interesting aspects of that territory was the very well publicized criminal proceeding against Lars Anderson and Malaya. Sorry, I'm probably pronouncing her name wrong, but
Leah, yeah.
Leah, do you wonder why that occurred? And isn't it somewhat? It sounds like basically standard pro wrestling business sort of practices, at least the milder side. Do you wonder why that occurred?
Yeah, I think, over there, it is the 50th state. So, I mean, it is kind of brand new. I don't think Leah did anything wrong. She tried to squeeze him to get a payoff for using her talent. That has been almost a given for decades of wrestling promoters. You give them a payoff if they use your talent, and I think the guy, I forget the guy's name. I know it if you said it. I think he was trying to squeeze them out, and he didn't do a good job.
Mm. Anyway, for those who haven't seen it, Kevin is very much featured in that episode of Tales from the Territories. It's worth checking out. Andrew Lane is asking your thoughts on Adrian Street.
Way ahead of his time. Way ahead of his time. Guy was double tough. And first time he came to Florida, I didn't think he'd get over. He got over gangbusters, and came from a coal mining, came from Wiggins, the snake pit, the original snake pit. He was a terrific performer and a terrific wrestler.
And definitely, as you said, way ahead of his time. We're looking in the months to come to be putting together an interview with Adrian. So fans, stay tuned for that. That'll be a complete career retrospective. Dave Thornton says, "Nice to see you, Kevin. Any memories, good memories of competing at Toronto Maple Leaf Gardens?"
Yeah, I enjoyed Toronto. I had some matches, me and Mark against the Sheik, and he brought in one of his guys that he called the Animal, and we had some matches in there, so it was great.
Speaking of arenas, John wants to know the best and worst arena you worked in.
I mean, I've been in some great buildings, from Madison Square Garden to, the Maple Leaf Garden to Boston Garden. I guess and I've been around the world. I guess the ones that weren't good are the ones that didn't draw any people. But other than that, they've all been pretty good.
How about the old Philadelphia Spectrum,
Spectrum,
which is a stalwart building?
the Spectrum.
Yeah, for the NWA.
Yeah, I wrestled in there, and I wrestled also. I wrestled in 4 or 5 different buildings in Philly. Rabid fans. They love their wrestling in Philly.
Why do you think it is that, and I've been to a few shows in Philly too, why do you think it is that the heels are so over in Philadelphia?
It's a tough city. It's a tough city. They see life as very tough. Yep.
Rick Brooks wants to know, did you ever work with Chris Colt and your opinion of him?
Oh, there's another guy way ahead of his time. Yes, I did work with Chris Coles. He could fly in the air like a bird. He just was, he was Janis Joplin's bodyguard for a while. He was just way ahead of his time. And I like Chris.
What do you think led to his downfall from the business? I don't want to say blackballing, but whatever name you want to put on it
I think Chris could get his demons would pop up and he would get sometimes uncontrollable. Usually they didn't pop up, but once in a while he would go off the rails and he would scare some promoters and they wanted to pay him back, but he was a great guy.
Jake has asked a question about your memories of another classic figure, Bobby Shane.
Bobby Shane was a dear friend to me. He died very young in a plane crash. Was a brilliant performer, absolutely brilliant performer. They made him a booker very young. I think he was the youngest booker I ever met. Yeah, he booked in Florida. He booked in the Mobile area. He booked in Australia. He was coming back actually to book again in Florida when the plane went down.
One of the fans on social media reached out to ask about your tenure in the early days, the Asylum years of TNA, where you were a special referee slash I guess referee in that famous Clockwork House of Fun match with Raven and Sandman. How did that come about, and was it as wild as it appeared to the fans watching?
Well, Raven and Sandman were 2 great performers, so it was wild there. It was the only time I went in there to work. I had kind of retired because I built a gym from the ground up, and I didn't want to go out much, but I had done it because I wanted to see their match, and they were fabulous. But I always thought TNA was going to last and do well, but it didn't.
Well, it's still around in some form. What are your thoughts? Speaking of TNA, when they decided to pull the WCW strategy and go head to head with WWE on Monday nights, and when that was during the tenure of Hogan and Bischoff, there, do you think in hindsight that was well, obviously not a wise business decision, but what were your thoughts when you heard they were going to try and reignite those Monday night wars, so to speak, that you were such a centerpiece of?
Yeah, I think you're right that they had to be separated I mean, the difference in the talent and storylines at the time, they never should have tried to run against them completely. You know what I'm saying? It should have been Monday and Friday or something, but they didn't have a chance against them head to head.
Well, in hindsight, it's definitely definitely a regrettable decision to say the least.
Yeah.
One fan, Brendan, wants to know: is there one wrestler now who you would think would be best in the territory days? And aside from Cody Rhodes, an obvious choice that the fan points out, do you agree with that? And if not, or sorry, over and above that, who could you name that would be a definite draw? Let's say as the traveling NWA champion going from territory to territory.
I think the Bloodline group are fabulous. Everybody that's involved in that, meaning Sammy, Kevin, the Samoan brothers, Roman Reigns, everybody involved in there could do it. Hunter could have if he was still healthy. Brock, on the other side, this MJF has something special. There's a lot of guys that could do it. It's good to see that there's a lot of great young talent out there.
Do you think that one of the, I want to figure out how to say this properly, but one of the major factors in some great wrestlers of the past not wanting to be NWA champion was the travel schedule. I wonder if you believe that that travel schedule could be kept up in the modern era, because most the schedule is much lighter now. And do you think that that concept is outmoded in recent years?
Yeah, I think it is. You can't be on the road 281 days without a day off. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They had some brutal schedules.
Definitely. Alfred wants to know: have you ever wrestled Killer Kowalski or Nature Boy Buddy Rogers?
I never wrestled Buddy Rogers, but I did wrestle Killer Kowalski when he was a tag team with John Studd as the Executioners. Wonderful performer.
And what are your thoughts of him as a trainer? Obviously accomplished, correct?
Yeah, look at how many people he put out that became huge stars. He was great.
Dave wants to know if who you like to work with most in the ring, and I guess that's just in terms of an actual match.
Well, right now, I love to work at Hannibal because he's so wild and so untamed. It's great to see what he can do.
But when you were an active competitor, did you have a favorite opponent?
Favorite opponent? Yeah, Dusty Rhodes. Yeah, Dusty Rhodes.
Absolutely. And there's a fan question here I just want to find about Dusty. I might come back to it. But in the meantime, Rick wants to know, did you get along well with Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer?
Yes, I did. Buzz and I are pretty good friends. We tag teams quite a bit. Yeah.
Jake also wants to know if you have a favorite, and notwithstanding the Blood Hunter, of course, but a favorite Canadian talent.
There's a lot of great young Canadian talent out there, but Blood Hunter is my favorite.
What are your thoughts on the place in history of Bret Hart, who, of course, is an icon to those of us up here in Canada as well as others, and his there's a lot of punditry on the internet about the Mount Rushmore, so to speak, of wrestling talent, and he, in my view, has to be up there. But what are your thoughts, and did you enjoy working with him in WCW?
Yes, I thought he was one of the greatest performers of all times.
Did your involvement with Brett in WCW, was that what you thought it would be, or uh, could it have been more? And if so, what do you think went
Now,
wrong?
Brett came in a very unusual situation. Uh, the guys from New York were actually running the show at that time. So he was sort of at their mercy.
Very good. Andrew Lane wants to know: has the WWE ever reached out to you about induction in their Hall of Fame?
No, because I never really worked for them.
Would you be interested in accepting an induction if it was offered?
Oh, sure. Yeah. But I
Well,
don't know too many people that have been inducted that haven't worked for them. So I'm not sure if that really works.
well, definitely long overdue on the basis of your career. I found the Dusty question, and Jake wants to know memories of the blinding Dusty Rhodes sister spot.
Yeah. It was one of the best angles I ever did. Uh, it drew nothing but money for a long time. I wasn't even in the territory, and I came in and tried to assassinate his sister. It was good. It worked out very well.
Were you involved in the development of
That was
that?
my angle. Yep.
What was the inspiration of that, or just one of your creative genius ideas?
I just thought it was real. If you hated somebody, you would do something dastardly to them, and it wasn't supposed to be on after his sister. It was supposed to be at Dusty, but unfortunately, he ducked and hit his sister, and made it worse because now he's to blame for his sister being blinded. You know what I mean?
Just as a sidebar to that involving Dusty, what were your thoughts on the time when Dusty seemingly went against the brass at the NWA and did the spike to the eye angle with the Road Warriors? That's one of my favorites from back in the day.
Mine too. I think he did it because they told him he couldn't do it, and he was going to show them. You know,
Did that ultimately lead to his dismissal as a booker?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's what got rid of him.
And was it kind of strange for Dusty to be dismissed as a booker and kept on as a talent for a bit?
Yeah, yeah, but they did that because it was Turner was strange, had different ideas.
One last question about Dusty that I actually got on social media was when he made the jump to Vince, and he debuted as himself basically in the same the cowboy boots and the black tights, and then they put the polka dots on him. What, do you believe that was sort of a way to
Yes,
bury him?
I know where you go with this. Yeah, that was embarrassing. Is that
And
what?
ultimately,
That's what I mean. How could it not be?
so that's kind of a questionable decision to bring a guy in and try and make money with him, and then bury him on the other hand. Don't you think? Does that happen in wrestling a lot, or is that just fan conjecture?
I think it's fan conjecture, but with Dusty, it is almost impossible not to think that.
And he certainly got it over. So
Yeah.
there you go. Alex wants to know your thoughts on Bray Wyatt, and do you think he would fit perfectly in WCW in the 90s or the Dungeon of Doom?
I think he'd fit perfectly anywhere at any time. He's very, very talented.
Why do you think we've had limited success with Bray's character thus far, and especially I understand he may be injured at this point in time, but especially with this second run, it's been less than.
It's been stop-start, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's injured really bad. That's what I seem to believe, that they've put out he's hurt. It's hard to get going when you're hurt, you know?
Do you think it was a mistake to move away from that Cape Fear type cult leader character with the family and everything and move into that rather bizarre at times and nebulous fiend character?
Yeah, I do. I love that Cape Fear character.
Yeah, the mask was certainly a different sort of approach.
Right.
Andrew wants to know your thoughts on the sensational one, Sherry Martel.
One of the best of all times. One of the best valets, one of the best women wrestlers. Wonderful person.
Did you refresh my memory? But she was in WCW when you were there as well. Did you have any uh, additional thoughts on her returning to actually wrestle, or was she just in a managerial sort of support role at that
She,
time?
she was in a managerial spot. Basically, she was Flair's manager most of the time there.
One fan on social media wants to know your thoughts on the state of women's wrestling per se in both organizations, and specifically why, after a period where they seem to be getting a great push in terms of that women's revolution, why things seem to have cooled. And my question to you as a booker is, do you believe that women's wrestling can be oversaturated, and it's sometimes best to have it as an attraction on a card? I know that's a lot to digest, but your
Well,
thoughts.
it depends. You know, WWE, their women's division is as strong as their men division, basically. And I just saw today that one of the girl wrestlers that won the gold medal for the USA just signed with WWE. So, you know, it's going to be a great journey to watch, because they're really, when I was in it, was wrestling, when I first started wrestling, it was like a novelty match. Now some of the matches on the card are the best matches. So it's going to be nice to see the next 10 years, the transformation. And, you know, maybe soon we'll see a WrestleMania. The last two matches will be women's matches.
Well, there definitely seems to be the fan interest, which is key. Absolutely. Alex wants your thoughts on Dominic Mysterio and his work as, I guess, his well regarded work thus far as a heel.
He's doing an incredibly good job at this early. I mean, my hat's off to him. It comes from a father, one of the greatest of all times. We all know that, but he's doing very, very well. I'm glad to see it.
Are you familiar with some of the fans that are comparing the heel work of Dominic with MJF, and I guess putting more positive feedback on Dominic's as opposed to MJF, because Dominic is being that slimy chicken shit heel character, and MJF does more of the cursing and the outrageous sort of actions, and therefore he's less over than Dom? Or do you take them both as on their own merits?
I take both on their own merits. I don't want to see a guy. What they're trying to do is have them both wrestle the same way. That doesn't work. I like the completely different, novel approach that they're both doing. I like that. That's very good.
Got a question again from Jake wanting to know, what was it like to compete as as a bodybuilder years prior, and being one of the pioneers in wrestling, to bring a bodybuilding physique to the game?
It was hard. It was hard. You had to, really watch your diet, and being that light, the bumps were harder, so it was very difficult.
How did you, with the travel schedule, maintain not only the diet but finding time to train at that level? That must have I've
That
often wondered how that's possible. Actually,
it was very, very difficult, but I did it. But you can't do it forever. So then I switched to powerlifting, but it's very, very difficult.
yeah, absolutely. A fan is asking about your cult leader slash satanic character, and strangely is wanting to know if anybody has ever thrown holy water at you.
No, no,
Simple answer to that
yeah,
question. I guess that's a testament to
yeah,
how folks believed.
yeah. I guess so.
One of the questions that came online again was just, and I know you've addressed this in other broadcasts and can condense it, but the match that you had with Blackjack Mulligan, where you fought off into the wilderness, so to speak, and then came back the next week, basically like it was a continual battle, wearing the same clothes and everything. My God, how was that devised?
That was Dusty's idea. We were in the main event one week. We went out the doors. The people followed us. The police held them back. We kept them going down into the woods area. The cops were holding them back. Then the next week, the first match is on. We came in fighting right through the building like we've been fighting all week. It was crazy, but people still talk about it.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Andrew wants to know if there will ever be Tessa Blanchard versus Charlotte Flair in the WWE with the Horseman background. It seems like that's a no brainer, right?
Yeah, I think it will. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Tessa Blanchard in particular, and why she hasn't been signed with a major company as of yet?
I think she might have said something that wasn't politically correct.
Well, she's apparently back doing the indies and in Canada, so we'll see whatever happens there. In terms of your booking philosophy, one of the fan questions that came in was, what was your focus when you were uh, in charge of WCW Creative at that time, during that period when you were actually you know beating the WWF in ratings, so to speak? Was that your focus, or did you kind of block that out and just do what you do creatively?
I think you have to create very good villains, and that's what we did. I believe people pay to see people get beat, not to keep winning.
And antagonists draw the money.
Right, absolutely.
Tom wants to know about your relationship with Steve Kern.
Oh, Steve and I have been friends for too many years. We went scuba diving together, boats, snorkeling. We've been all around the world together.
And just came out with an autobiography that I definitely want to check out as well. Have you given some thought to doing that yourself?
No, I haven't. A lot of people have asked me, but I haven't right yet.
It seemed to me it would be a no brainer and a bestseller for sure.
Yeah, we'll give it a try maybe someday.
Fan wants to know about your thoughts on Maniac Matt Bourne.
Fabulous performer, very good, very good. And that gimmick, Dunk the Clown, was scary. He was very, very good at it.
And did some amazing work in Portland too, if I do
Yeah,
say so myself.
yeah.
Tom wants to know about was it your idea to make Pillman a loose cannon?
No,
And
that was his idea. That was all Brian.
gotcha. And he's asking about the pencil wrestling match.
I hadn't seen that myself until just recently. He put that online before really there was a YouTube. What was that called before?
MySpace.
MySpace. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Brilliant guy.
Do you remember your time in WWC Puerto Rico and any highlights thereof?
Yeah, I wrestled Dory Funk there, and I wrestled Carlos Colon there. I used to go down there on weekends and work. Yeah,
Was it as wild and unpredictable a territory as people say, or
much worse. Can't even think about how bad it was.
wow? And we're just about at the end of our time, but one final fan question is, why did you not go to the WWE? I think I asked you this last time too in a different way, but WWE and be on their creative after WCW went out of business. And I have a sidebar after you finish that.
I started building the gyms in Florida, so I had a lot of money invested in something else at the time.
Do you think that wrestling or sports entertainment or whatever the major organizations call it would benefit from moving away from these Hollywood type writers and involving more quote unquote wrestling people in their creative?
Yeah, I do think it would help them getting away, but there's less and less people around that remember what the business was. You know what I mean? So
Well, Great North Wrestling is very pleased to have you involved in our organization. That's for sure. And the last final fan question appropriately deals with baseball. And which baseball players do you think would make great heels? This fan, Tom, votes for Bryce Harper.
he'd be the number one heel. Yeah, he gets on everybody's nerves. Yeah, I agree with that.
And any others? Any Boston
Kurt,
players?
old time player Kurt Schilling. He's a real idiot. Yeah,
Absolutely. I was going to say that.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin, I want to thank you for being so generous with your time again. And I want to encourage the fans to come out this Saturday, May the 6th, Earl Armstrong Arena to meet Kevin and see his involvement in the work with the Blood Hunter in the main event against Cowboy James Storm. Kevin, do you have any final thoughts for the fans that are looking forward to seeing you?
You don't want to miss this one with Cowboy and the Blood Hunter. This is going to be something special. And I'll come by and say hello. I can't wait to talk to you.
Well, that's it, fans, for this Q&A. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you to the Taskmaster, Kevin Sullivan. And we will see you all this Saturday at the Earl Armstrong Arena in Ottawa. Jack Kilby here, Executive Vice President of Great North Wrestling. No Gimmicks Entertainment is pleased to present Great North Wrestling's huge 15th anniversary show on Saturday, May the 6th at the Earl Armstrong Arena in Ottawa, Ontario. Bell time 7 p.m. This stacked card will feature former TNA Impact World Heavyweight Champion Cowboy James Storm, WCW legend The Taskmaster, Kevin Sullivan, managing the diabolical Blood Hunter, second generation former TNA star Aces and Eights Wes Briscoe, Canadian champion Black Dynamite Jeremy Prophet, and former GNW Women's Champion Jessica Black, the Conspiracy Horsemen of Ayatollah Bin Hameen and Greek god Papadon from Vince Russo's brand. Ottawa wrestling legend Bruiser, with much more to be announced. Fans, there will be a meet and greet before the event and at intermission. Tickets now on sale, available at ticketweb.ca and at the door. Don't you dare miss it.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Follow us on Twitter at the Hannibal TV for instant updates.